Hi Mum, it's Alice. Do you like the photograph, the one that I sent you? Can you tell what it was? I sound like bloody Rolf Harris. All this palaver, one way or another, is about that photo or ones like it. And I thought the best thing to do would be to try and explain it by video, and then I'm not bringing the press with me, you see, tramping over your flower beds. Because they would, you know, after tomorrow, after the announcement. I expect I'll be a celebrity, and not just among the nerdy types either. And you never thought physics could be sexy? Well, who would have thought? Did you notice what it says on this mug? It's what Dad used to say. Keep going, kid. Remember? We're spending a fair bit of time thinking about Dad and things, what with this business. You know, you and he were very alike, that's what I thought. But think. I know that sounds a bit odd these days, you know, a scientist and a language teacher, but I have been thinking about it, and I do think it's true. It's one of my conclusions. See, it's about precision, and he being a scientist was precise, and you need that in languages too, don't you? And I was going to do them, languages, once upon a time before I got the physics bug. So I know these things. Well, you know that, of course you do. I mean, you never did complain about me changing direction and doing more Dad's sort of thing. Natürlich. But remember him and language, nomenclature, names mattered, and confusing astrology with astronomy would have been enough to get me sent to there with no tea, but I remember there was nothing about the night sky he didn't know. Names of all the constellations, everything. Not that I said as much, not to his face. Not back then. Well, ever, really. Most important for me then was not to be seen as Daddy's little girl, because there's no street cred in that, is there? I'm standing there in me bloody thin nightie in the back garden, well, you rabbits on. But I did like to listen about stars that could have exploded or fizzled out in the years since the light left them, and how he said, all this around us is an illusion at best. Sort of brings you down to earth, that sky, doesn't it? Oh, he once said how if we could build a fast enough spaceship, we could fly away and overtake the light from the earth, and looking back, we'd see things as they used to be. The continents rearranged like a 15-tile puzzle, or dinosaurs roaming Oxfordshire deserts. If only we could look back and see things like they used to be. Me, you, and Dad, a very own portal to the past. And poetry can make a scientist, can't it? I mean, that's poetry to me, ideas like that. Well, whether or not it did the trick for me, that and Dad. So, I went away to big school to do poetic sums, and Rosemary was there from the start, only I didn't know her then. Well, not really know her. I mean, she was in the booklet, the university one. Professor Rosemary Geffin, and a prof since she was 20-something. That's good for getting bums on seats, is that? Well, she's not one for the snotty little undergrads like I was, though, back then. Professor Rosemary. Not much time for that business, but, you know, prizes up to here she's had. And lots of boys chose her courses just to be macho, and they fancied her. Thought they had a chance with her, I bet. Plenty went cross-eyed in the end, just because they were so difficult, those courses. I asked her once, not so long ago, if she did it on purpose. You know, made the courses difficult. And she gave me her look. She might have said, what? Oh, but she's on TV too. Sexy face for science when they get some news they've got men to watch. Wonder hubby is Malcolm Tavistock, the sculptor. The Saatchi brothers throw money at him every time he shakes so much as a turd. The consensus was that he'd won Rosemary by being good with his hands. I mean, this was enough to start a new spasm of guffawing from those boys who hadn't gone mad from the course just yet. I mean, you can imagine them, can't you? Every time. They're so predictable. You knew some of those lads, you know. When you used to ask me about dating, you know, dating boys. I think you even knew their names better than me, probably. Because they were the ones with their names for me. Al, I was for a bit. Al, like a boy, see. Or Aloof, you know, just because I wasn't going to go and get in a bed with one of them. They weren't there when you phoned, just before that Christmas, second year. No one was there to hold me when you told me that, when you phoned about Dad's aneurysm. Christmas Eve, eh? Bloody hell. What a time for us, wasn't it? When I got back, when it was all over, and I talked them here into believing that, I was alright, I could carry on, you know what got me through? I just kept copying it out. Keep going, kid. So I did. I kept going. But I wish he was there, Mum. In the graduation pictures with you and me. At first, you weren't there. I know you wish it as well. Sorry, I'm not saying that. I'm so glad you were there. I mean, really. I mean, look. I mean, here's the picture from the graduation of you and me. Can you see? I keep it here. When I got into Rosemary's team as a postgrad, I mean, everyone starts off again at the bottom, first or no first, and Rosemary, she told me stories of when she was starting out that way and making me feel better about shooting lasers into bits of mica again and again and again. And she mellowed with us lot, because researchers we were now, that's what she'd say, finding things out. She chivied us on, encouraged us. So, the next thing I have to tell you is to do with that, about the way discoveries happen. Did you hear the capital letter? Well, it was on a Monday morning, me knackered after canoeing the Glenorchy Rapids and being dropped off the uni minibus back home at 3 in the morning, up at 8, my God, staring at a laser by 9:30, by 10 ready to kick the thing, and I was meant to be getting readings, but there was nothing, so tap tap, plug, unplug, and I did get something in the end, some numbers, but they didn't seem to make any sense to me, and I had fiddled with the sense of receptivity, upping it by mega amounts, so I just put it down to that. I went out and I noticed that Rosemary was in, so I mentioned the damn equipment was playing up. And she must have been in a good mood, because she comes with me into the lab and something like 30 seconds later she laughs. She made a bit of a joke for her. "Helps if you turn the laser on," she said. I was blushing, but I was quick with the next bit. I told her about those numbers, the ones that I'd seen, the ones that made no sense. Well, of course they made even less sense now. How could anything be coming out if there was no laser firing? Nothing in, nothing out. So I showed those numbers to Rosemary and her brow creased and she stayed and we did some checks and we talked about it. And eventually, the only vaguely plausible theory was that the energy from the previous Friday's laser blast was still captured in the tiny flake. But there couldn't be anything left. It was just too long ago, Friday. How could it last that long? But there it was. And the research changed direction then. It was just her and me. The only two who knew about this idea. I didn't tell. I couldn't see Mum. Not even you. Not that you'd have really understood those first few weeks. I mean, no offence, but no one really would. It took us a bit to track down this paper by a Slovak talking about similar things and how vibrations never really die, and saying how if you had the right equipment you'd be able to see things just like they were when the light made it vibrate. Just like they were. Like having a portal to the past. So, we had a go. Rosemary got some time on various supercomputers and we needed that. And then she'd come in to watch the screens when they were running our programmes, mostly at night. Not leaving it just to me, despite the time. And the little boys are sniggering at the two girls staying late together in the lab, but I didn't care. She was there, with me, on our project. And sod them and their silly rumours, not that it would matter if it was true. Anyway, the lab gets hot with the laser going and we took to drinking iced coffee to stay cool and alert. And one night, I held up my glass and said, "This glass, it's full of silicon, same stuff we're testing, as is every pane of glass. If we can amplify enough and crunch enough numbers, we can know everything that has ever happened near a window. We can go and scan the glass in the Dallas Book Depository and see Oswald taking aim."